welcome to Game Banter with Ryan and David. I just ate some marshmallows, so I got energy.
Nom nom.
Today's episode is brought to you by Tiny Little Marshmallows. They're in a can. That's delicious.
Marshmallow.
So today we're here with Aaron Davis, kind of I think our lead developer, the guy who knows how to make all the things happen. Hello, Aaron.
IR code.
What?
Hello.
IRS code. And then, of course, Ryan, Chief Executive in charge of
things of what? I
Look
don't
how
know.
many things are on that dry erase board.
Oh yeah.
The general himself.
Don't look at the dry erase board.
These are copyrighted.
Copyrighted material. This is not. Don't look at that.
And you're the one with the HD camera.
Yeah.
Let's,
do that.
What have I done?
Careful,
Why
there's
did I
accountant
put my
appointments
social
on there.
security so large on the board? But yeah, today we're talking about Kickstarter. We're talking about a handful of games that have caught our attention on Kickstarter, and also just the overall idea, how we think, kind of the pros and cons of Kickstarter to the video game world, whether it's producing amazing new, groundbreaking content, or providing a way for more money-hungry people to create kind of the same old dribble, like just repackaging our old favorites with zero improvement or actually maybe less improvement and making a few $1,000s off of it. So we'll take a look. You decide.
Yeah. I mean, so at the end we'll just kind of have a vote that says, do we think that Kickstarter is beneficial or not beneficial? But to David's point, I mean, the biggest thing is we do a lot of articles on the site talking about Kickstarter games, whether that's Guild of Dungeoneering or Darkest Dungeon. There's plenty of games that we've done spotlights on specifically because we really like the ideas of the game and they're unique and different. But then we've noticed lately that there's a lot of games that are just kind of like, it's a Zelda and Mega Man and everything like that, and you look at the game and it's got like a Final Fantasy VII interface, and so they're really taking elements from all these different games, and it's like, I'll just put all this stuff together and make some kind of mega game that looks like 16 other games, and you'll pay me for it, and so that concerns me.
It's a hybrid. No, it's a mutant.
It's immune to your criticism.
It's a non-beneficial mutation. Stop it, please.
Well, yeah, and a lot of them don't even look like mutations. You're just like, did they take Zelda and shorten his hair and give him a funny hat, like a different funny hat, and that's what this game is? Is he playing an ocarina? Is nobody getting sued?
Yeah, well, I guess we do have to give them the benefit of the doubt a little bit, though, because these are probably very early stages of these games, so they're just trying to put their idea in perspective for people. So,
yeah, I mean, it just kind of reminds me of there was this movie on, I don't know if it was Netflix or I think it was Netflix, but the description of the movie was, it's like a Lord of the Rings movie. That was the description, and it's just like, well, if I want to watch
Fantasy.
a Lord of the Rings movie, why wouldn't I just watch Lord of the Rings? Why do I need to watch this movie? Like, and I ended up watching the movie, and it was terrible, and I hated myself for it.
The tagline is, do you ever wonder what Lord of the Rings would be like with a smaller budget? Check it out.
Check it out.
here you go.
Happen.
But one game that we were talking about earlier that we're really excited about is a game called Strike Suit Zero. So I've made my love for Space Sims and Homeworld, which was our last episode, and everything like that known. And this game, while it does do some of the, well, it's like Zelda and like this, and it's like Homeworld and X-Wing versus TIE Fighter and free space and stuff like that. While it does do some of that, considering a game hasn't been made like that for a long time, that's awesome. And one of the things that really stands out to me about the game is you fly around in single space combat, and there's all these huge ships around you, but you can turn into like a Gundam. So, like, for those of you that like Japanese anime or anything like that, like, that's a lot of fun. Like, you transform into a mech while you're in space combat, and you go around and you do special abilities and stuff like that. So, that to me is exciting. I don't know. What do you think, Aaron?
So I have always been a big fan of space combat simulators, and I'm also a big fan of Robotech, which is kind of where this idea is a lot like Robotech. So I'm very excited that there's finally another combat simulator that looks really cool coming out, and that the project is pretty much already done, and the Kickstarter is entirely about finishing it. So I think this game is definitely going to be released. It's going to be really cool.
What about you, David?
Yeah, I watched the video on the Kickstarter, and I was impressed. Right now, they got 174,000 out of the 100,000 they needed to finish it up. And yeah, it looks really cool. I like the idea of kind of having both what at least looks like it's going to be that 3D space combat that Homeworld has, but then throw the mech suits in there, or the Gundam style, but I guess mech suits, I don't know what they're called, but space people attack suits. But yeah, like that would actually be the thing I would expect from the whole Homeworld sequel. Like, hey, you liked Homeworld? How about giant robots? Yeah, that's a good tagline. But so yeah, it looks interesting. Kickstarter, so it's still hard to tell exactly the combat system and if it's going to be clunky, but it looks really smooth graphics. It looks like there's a good HUD on it, so you know what you're locking onto, what you're interacting with in the environment. So yeah, I think it's got a lot of great potential and looks really interesting. Yeah, really smooth graphics. Yeah, I'm excited about it.
So it's something that you love about Kickstarter, David, and something you hate about Kickstarter.
Well, of course, I think the standard thing is it gives power to the people in a sense, well, actually, in a large sense, where if someone had an idea, there's plenty of great ideas that get shot down because some guy in a suit or something along the lines of it doesn't understand actually what the people want. So someone came and delivered him gold, and he said, "Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to eat bread with cheese and pepperonis on it. You're a fool. Get out of here." That's pizza, and people love it. Yeah, so it takes that kind of these unnecessary middleman out of the way, and it lets the people kind of decide what they want. I think the downside is that middleman, that man who's really just in it for the money. He's not just the 1%. There's plenty of people who want to be the 1% or whatever. He can be a fresh college student. He says, "You know what? People like video games. I'll make some money off video games." And so he says, "I'll get my friend who does some programming. We'll make up a game. I don't know, copy of Zelda. We'll make some good money on it. I see people make $100,000 on it." So there can be a lot of stuff where some person started not for the dream of making their game, not because they want your help creating their vision. Their vision was to figure out how to get some money pretty quick, and this seemed like a straight up enough plan. Some of the games I've seen on there, I'm like, this looks like an afterthought to money. They're like, how do we make some money? Oh, I don't know. Zelda ripoff. Do it. People like that retro look. It'll be cheap to create. So they're not giving us what we want. They're trying to figure out how to as easily and cheaply give us what we want for maximum profits. And so that to people are kind of taught that that's the top level trying to trick us down. But plenty of people mixed throughout us, plenty of people you might have gone to college with or something, are totally more money hungry than product oriented. And those people can go to Kickstarter, especially because everyone knows there's money in it now. So there's that mix of the same as when you went into a GameStop back in the day or whatever, and sometimes you'd see a game and you say, "Oh, that's a cool looking game," and sometimes you went and you got it and you played it and said, did they care not at all what this game would be like when you played it? Because the camera angles are bad, the gameplay is chunky. Like, this is a horrific development, and I think you can get that.
What you just described is like every video game that's been made based on a movie.
Yeah, actually, I started thinking of video game movies. The video game was an afterthought to something else, kind of promoting the movie and making
it's like a checklist.
Yeah,
it's like, we're gonna make a movie, and then we're gonna make a video game. But to your point, I think that's kind of the anti-Kickstarter. Like, that's the complete opposite of what Kickstarter is supposed to be about. So hopefully it kind of weeds itself out. But it reminds me of the game that just came out recently, which I haven't played, but I've read several reviews for, because we are a video game review advocate or aggregate. Dungeon Keeper, the new Dungeon Keeper that came out for like the iPad and mobile. The original game was absolutely amazing, and the remake was being made by one of my favorite companies of all time, Mythic Entertainment and EA. I don't like mixed feelings about EA, but Mythic Entertainment I absolutely love, and they made a game that apparently, from what I've read, is so completely based on microtransactions that you can't do anything unless you do microtransactions. It's a free-to-play game that, would you like to bust through that wall? That'll be $6, please.
Yeah, well, it's all about waiting is the problem. So I've been playing that game because I'm a huge Dungeon Keeper fan, and I'm kind of playing it just because I want a little Dungeon Keeper. But it's an awful game. Like the game it's entirely, there's no game to it. It's really okay. Click some things and then wait. And then the problem is that you have to re-log into the game every time you get on to go do something else, which takes like 5 minutes. So it's an iPhone game that immediately logs you out if you change applications. Its design is awful. So
yeah, that makes me sad. But I guess
yes.
To the point, please Kickstarter, don't become evil, and make games just so you can make more money. One thing that I will say about EA as a publisher is that Battlefield 4 is a game that I absolutely love, and so I know it's not the case with all their games. And there's going to be outliers, there's going to be bad examples and stuff like that. But I love Battlefield 4. But for Kickstarter in general, I really like the concept behind Kickstarter because it does give those startups a chance to become big, or like an Indiegogo or whatever. It gives them a chance. But I am concerned that there are a lot of people that are trying to take advantage of that community and donate to projects that don't end up ever coming out. I think there was a roguelike that was kickstarted back like a year or two ago, maybe, and the game has still never come out.
Yeah, I've heard about that kind of stuff too. Like not just even in video games, but people. There isn't, I guess, maybe a lot of deadlines and requirements placed on the Kickstarter, so you become this investment. If I had millions of dollars and I hear a guy wants to make a game, and so I say, okay, you need $100,000, I'll give you $100,000. Now I'm maybe the sole investor, and this is an investment for me. I've got maybe 100 investments going on in my life, and I keep on them. I say, so what's the progress? So when do you see this game coming out? Like, give me the actual dates and stuff. Then that's what an investor trying to be wise with his money and turn a profit might do. But as someone who's like, oh, I like the idea of this game. Oh, awesome. Yeah, I like the graphics. Oh, the gameplay looks nice. And you don't really notice, maybe there's not really specific deadlines on here, or they're very vague about when things are going to occur. And then, 2 years later, the game's not out, and you're like, well, the pledge started, and they seem really gung-ho about it and excited. It's weird that 2 years later, I wonder if there is like something I'm not aware of, but I know that I've heard that some projects will get Kickstarted. People get way above what they even thought they were gonna, and then, a year later, nothing has been shown from it. So I don't know if Kickstarter demands deadlines from people, or who's policing the system to make sure people really do fully what they said they were going to do. There's got to be something, because you can't just say you're going to do something, take everyone's money, and disappear.
Yeah, that it does kind of. It scares me in that regard. I know that with what I've seen is that they have estimated deadlines for when they are going to accomplish something. So a friend of mine just recently launched a beef jerky Kickstarter, and it got funded. And so he has to deliver that beef jerky stuff and the rewards by XYZ date. And there's an estimated delivery there. So I think it's a loose delivery date. But I do wonder what there is about that, and I'd love to kind of read more on that. But yeah, I know. What do you think, Aaron, about Kickstarter in general?
Well, we're a site that likes to give gamers a voice, right? So Kickstarter really is awesome for us because it is a way to give gamers a voice. I mean, X number of gamers just went and gave these games money before they even created, and now these developers that are indie developers get a chance to, do their dream, which is game design. So I think not only does it bring in a bunch of new talent into game design by giving them a real platform to work on, because games don't just come out of thin air. You have to code them. So it gives these developers a chance to actually code a complex game and release it, and then join the masses of developers and make better games there. So, but I think the problem is that there is a lot of taking advantage of Kickstarter, and just like you guys have mentioned.
I do think as the gamers become not just the gamers, but and the purchasers, but the pre-investors, any given system will be held to the people's standards when the people start holding it to standards. And so we just have to, if people start to notice that as the investors, we invest in something and it comes out 2 years later than they said, that there needs to be maybe some pressure from the community to do that. Now I know it's hard because even full out professional full-time game development places are always bad about their estimates, and games are coming out way later than people thought they were, and halfway incomplete and patched in later and stuff like that. So to hold some poor independent company to some standard that even a massive game company can't fulfill, we just can't expect that. But I do think if it becomes a problem, the community, it's partly our job to enforce that problem not continue, and make sure our voice is heard more than just like, that game looks cool, submit, purchase.
Yeah, I actually just read on kind of the Kickstarter stuff, and so I'm just going to read this really quick, but it basically just says, is a creator legally obligated to fulfill the promises of the project? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
They are required to fulfill it, and they won't be able to do any additional things. Kickstarter can't do anything to them, but they are required to give the money back. So basically, it's they're saying yes, they're required to do the project. If they don't do it, then you can sue them. That's basically what Kickstarter's saying, which I guess could work. Some of these projects are hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, and so you could do a class action lawsuit or something like that. But I think in general, this Kickstarter kind of fulfills some of the needs that we're trying to meet on our site. We want to give a voice to gamers so that they can tell the developers and designers and publishers, this is the kind of game that I want to buy. This is the kind of game that I don't want to buy. And Kickstarter does that with your money. We do it with your ratings. So I think that's kind of the coolest thing about Kickstarter, and I'm really excited for that game that's coming out, which I just spaced on the name, Strike Suit Zero.
Strike Suit Zero.
Basically, what I'm saying is the game that lets me turn into a Gundam and fly around as a space simulator. Like, I will buy that game. Like, let's face it. So I guess my verdict on Kickstarter is I love it, and I hope that it maintains its level of professionalism and quality. So, what about you, David?
I of course I back it. I like that it's all the things, including games on it. I think there are dangers, but I actually had a good point as far as our website, and I guess it's weird to say our website. So any website, but I am fond of our website, particularly with the changes coming soon. But that is a good way to, because the problem is if you don't know anything about it, before you put money into something, you're just rolling the dice, and sometimes you're investing poor stuff. And so the trends and our voice is a muddled voice because we're an uninformed voice, and so our voice is our money, and so we're voting for games that are actually crap, and so people keep making them. But if you go to places like UltimateGameDB or whatever you decide to choose to be informed before you make the purchases, because we do a lot of work to, especially Derek's really into the indie games and stuff, you can find out about not just big name games, but now games, websites like ours are covering a lot more small time games, and you can know before you put money in what's going on from the community talking about it and stuff like that, and that keeps you from making those uninformed decisions that essentially have you voting for things to keep going on the way you wouldn't want them to go on because you're just voting at random with no major research. So maybe check out a database or two. Maybe an okay one, maybe the ultimate one. It's up to you which database you check out for games.
You can vote with your money, or you can
What
vote.
an advertisement.
Yeah. We don't usually plug the show on here.
But it is relevant to the topic.
It is. And so, I mean, that's the big thing. You can vote with your money, which is basically when you buy a copy of the latest Call of Duty, which has been refreshed, moderately upgraded graphics. You vote that way, or you can take a look at and do some research on UltimateGameDB or several of the other sites out there that show you information about games. We just hope that we can be an adequate voice for you guys.
Yeah, well, and you can use your money to vote and also your vote to vote so that other people, because if you buy something and you think, man, this was a ripoff, I don't like stuff like this being existed anymore, well, your vote's already out there, you already paid the money, but you can help change other people's votes by saying, hey guys, I played this game. This is a really bad game. Don't play this game. But then also, I've heard the 80-20 rule. 80% of people who have a bad experience will talk about it, but 20% of people who have a good experience will talk about it. It's a skewed thing. People tend less to rave than they do to be upset and say negative things. So also, go vote the good things for the games you do like. So it's not so other people can know what to buy, and that will affect the market trends. And then we just get more and more good stuff as a community, as a gaming community.
Mm-hmm. Final thoughts, Aaron?
Kickstarter is awesome. I love following the games on there, and I'm excited to finally have another combat space simulator game. It's been a while, so
that's going to be good stuff. Well, anyways, guys, thanks for joining us this week. We will catch you next week, and have a wonderful week. And don't be weak.
Hope you don't have a weak week.
Don't
play some video games.
Go support Kickstarter. Go rate some games on our site. Go do some awesome things. So we'll see you all next week. Bye.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, and feel free to take a look at our website, www.ultimategamedb.com, and subscribe to our channel. We would love to see you there.
And definitely also check us out on Facebook and Twitter. If you like us or follow us, you'll be able to see when we're posting new shows and also a lot of articles. The Ultimate Game Database posts a lot of stuff on what games are coming out that week, how the consoles are doing on the console wars, a lot of fascinating stuff.
Yeah, so subscribe, like us, tweet us, and we will see you next week. Bye!